Hey guys, Micah from blackbearcustomkydex. I'm shooting a video for you today on some sheath work I did for a gentleman named Troy. And Troy has ordered from me once before. He ordered a big piggyback system for Tmms System, piggybacking a Spartan Blades Harsey Model 2. And it was set up with a Blade Tech Tmms system, which allows you to have a tech lock on your belt with a connecting piece on that, a similar connecting piece, or identical rather, installed on the larger knife, in this case the Tmms System sheath, and then a male piece installed on the smaller sheath. So you can plug that smaller sheath into the connector on the bigger sheath, or onto the connector that's riding on your tech lock, presumably on your belt. The other cool thing, because the TMMS comes with 2 female parts and 1 male part, they're called receivers and forks, you can mount those receivers anywhere you want and then move your fork into each of those receivers wherever they might be located. So if you wanted to expand your abilities for where you're mounting things, you could have one mounted to somewhere in your truck or on a bedside stand or wherever you want. It's just a very convenient, very cool, very versatile and modular system. So he asked me to build him something similar this time. And well, 2 different systems actually, so I'm going to get into that. Now, in that previous system he built me, he also we had kept in touch and kept talking, and I told him how much I love that Harsey Model 2. I was searching for one. One slipped through my fingers, and Troy very generously gave me the opportunity to buy his Harsey Model 2 off of him, and he said that he would buy a Spartan Blades Defensa, which is also designed by Bill Harsey and very similar to the Harsey Model 2, in the future, somewhere down the road. He said, I'll buy that, and I want it set up the same way as my Model 2 sheath so that I can piggyback it on my El Chete. So what we're looking at here is, I'm going to show you first. This is not technically part of this order, so I'll get it out of the way right up front. But this is the Harsey Model 2 that he sold me. Absolutely love this knife. It is easily in my top 3 all-time favorite knives. And I say generously sold, guys, because if you're not familiar with Spartan Blades, not only are they just a fantastic company founded by a couple of Green Berets, so they're the kind of guys you want to give your business to, but this particular model, as well as the Harsey Model 1, were in very limited production. I believe there's only somewhere in the ballpark of 250 of them, if I'm not mistaken, each model, about 250 each, floating around out there in the world. And Troy had one and was generous enough to allow me to buy that off him because he knew I wanted one so bad. So Troy, again, brother, I really appreciate this. Thank you so much. And know that this has a good home with me, and I use this thing all the time. Absolutely love it. So, so there's that. Now, his Model 2 sheath that I'd built him in that last order was set up as a double layer sheath with OD green base and OD green Cryptek as the double layer overlay. So that's what you're looking at here. And since he said he was going to buy a Spartan Harsey Defensa in the future to replace his Model 2, I used one of my Defensas and I made him this sheath. So got a great click in. Nice draw. It's ready to go for you. So I'm going to send this to him with the custom order that we're going to be talking about today. All right, so I'm going to try to up my camera game just a little bit. I know for those of you who do anything with film editing, this will be an absolute baby steps game for anybody who's got some know-how. I am not that guy. I'm terrible with the camera. You guys can probably already tell, and if you followed me for a while, you know that my camera action is just, it's pathetic. So what I'm going to do is splice this to the beginning of another video, and you'll get an aerial shot of all the sheets so you don't have to look at my ugly mug for the rest of this video. All right, guys, let's transition to that now. All right, so I assume I'm a bit louder up here, so I'm talking a little softer. I hope the balance of volume kind of equals out. I absolutely hate it when there's a change in anything, like a huge spike in volume, so I'll try to be mindful of that for you guys. All right, so what you're looking at here are the 3 knives that he sent me. The smallest one, this is a Bradford Guardian 3, or the Bradford G3 as it's called, and just a beautiful knife. I own one of these as well. It's one of my favorite EDC I actually use it most often probably for cutting my meat. Usually when I'm eating a steak, I'll grab my BG3 or BG3S, which is the sheep's foot. It's just a wonderful knife. It feels so comfortable in the hand. It's a great size, and man, they make just super, super solid stuff. This one is in CPM Crew Wear, which is one of the best super steels available. So I think mine are both in, I want to say Bowler M390. Yes, that's correct. So I've got one in 390 and one in 3V, I think. Oh no, it's M4. My sheep's foot is an M4 steel. So anyway, there's that. Now we've got a couple blades from Busse, and I don't actually know what models these are. Busse doesn't put the model on all their stuff, so yeah, you just have to check it out. But man, what an unbelievably gorgeous knife this is. Just unreal. I would assume it's probably 3V or some other super steel in that general class. Troy, if you have that information, you want to comment down below. I'm sure everybody would be curious to know what they're using for steel in these things, but it's gorgeous. Obviously, they're using micarta for the scales. Yeah, great palm swell. Anyway, I won't talk too much. I don't know too much about the knife, so I'm not going to gab. And then there's another one from Busse. This one's even larger. I want to say these are probably aluminum scales, although they may be actual bronze. The bronzed blade. You can't not love these blades. They're so gorgeous, and they just feel so formidable in hand as well. So these were really challenging. The BG3, I do plenty of those. I've got a trick to do those, and that was fine. That was kind of just another day. Both of the Busses, however, were really complex. One of the things that makes this the most challenging for me is that Busse, it's part of why I love Busse blades, but their handles, look at the amount of contour there is from an aerial view. So if you make a sheath, you not only have to account for all of the footprint profile stuff, but you also have to account for the thickness and the changes in thickness so that the Kydex doesn't get too locked into it. And that includes these huge barrel pins that they put in, these countersunk barrel pins with a huge hole. I mean, these things can absolutely become retention points for the Kydex, which I'm not saying is necessarily a bad thing, but it can be a hindrance depending on what else you're doing to achieve retention on your sheath. So both of these were very challenging. Both of these were complicated. And the way I ended up solving the handle issues was basically taping pieces of wood onto them that effectively acted as blocking to prevent the Kydex from getting down into some of these deeper palm swell, well, not swells, but the, what do you want to call those? The valleys, I guess, the deeper parts of these handle contours. So that was very difficult. Now, the other very obvious elephant in the room is the blades themselves have, I don't know if you would technically call this a fuller. I'm not sure what this blade feature would even be, called. Somebody who knows more than I do, put that down in the comment section if you would. But, all of these little ridges, they're fine if the knife has them going only straight all the way down, because then you have little dips in the Kydex on the inside that kind of match the groove line, and they would only end up being straight with that. However, where it curves at the tip, the issue you'll run into is that these straight lines here on the sheath are going to end up dragging at the blade tip. And, one thing, I do tape all of my blades up before pressing them so that there's some space in between the metal and the Kydex, but something where there's a ridge down like that would absolutely end up creating a hot spot. And we really want to avoid those hot spots, especially with blades that have these nice finishes. I don't know how fragile the finish is. I suspect it's pretty durable, but still, you always want to make sure that you're doing something to prep and prepare for any of the potential issues that you could run into with the finished product. Now, what I ended up doing was putting a layer of tape over it and then actually smushing some clay down into the grooves that I was able to form on the tape. So tape it up and then just use my thumbs to kind of work in so I can see where all these lines are, put some clay on it, and then kind of, use something sharp 90. I used just a piece of aluminum that I've got, and kind of scrape the clay off flush with the paint, with the tape, lightly bake it so that it stays hard and rigid, and then put more tape over that until I'm satisfied with the thickness of the tape and I'm ready to go on to the pressing phase. So that's pretty much what I did to both of these, and man, that was a time-consuming, difficult process, but it really does pay off if you do it properly. So, all right, let's get into the sheath work, because I know you guys are watching the channel for that. So, all right, I'm going to start with the Piggyback setup, which is for the smaller of the two bussies, plus the Bradford Guardian 3. Now, this one he asked for a double-layer sheath in Storm Gray with Kryptek Typhon as the top layer. He also wanted me to add an Exotac Fire Rod XL holder, and that rod is a 1/2 inch diameter, so I keep some wooden dowels kicking around at different diameters for molding ferro rods. So that's what I've got here. It's a little bit snug, but this is actually slightly larger than a 1/2 inch diameter, so your ferro rod should fit in there just fine, Troy. And I'm going to send you some shock cord as well, so that you can retain that Fire Rod XL even after you've whittled it down and made it loose inside this holder. That's kind of standard fare in the Kydex industry. You always want to attach shock cord to things that are going to get smaller as you use them, like a ferro rod. He wanted a Cento Clipper compass holder as well. So this is my compass, and you can see how I've attached it here. I've got a floated plate. When I say floated, I mean it's not connected to the sheath directly. It's got some space in between itself and the sheath, and I'm using rubber washers to keep it elevated off the surface of the plate. The purpose of that is to allow the backside of the compass to slide underneath. This is called the Cento Clipper because it has a little clipper piece on it that allows it to clip onto fabric and things like that, and it's got some little teeth on the top and on the bottom that lock together a little bit, so that obviously it gets a good grip. And what I do is I put a hole in the plate so you can slip the clipper underneath and just guide the head down toward that hole until you feel it or hear it click in place. There you go. Now the body will ride flush on the top of that plate, and it's in there really, really securely. When you want to use it, you just kind of push up this way as well as vertically, and you'll get that tooth to pop out of there, and you can just slide it off. All compasses on sheaths need to be removable so that you can take it off the sheath and get it away from all the metallic elements, of course the knife included in that, and get an accurate and true reading with your equipment. So there you go. Now I also put the same plate, a mirror image version of it, on the backside. And the reason I did that is because all the features on this sheath are actually ambidextrous. Everything on this can be flipped to the opposite side and worn exactly the same way. That includes this plate with molly locks on it. This is the, sorry guys, I'd call this the secondary carry system. The dangler, probably the primary. And even the dangler has an attach point on this side. I just put this kind of Chicago screw with a finish washer in there as a placeholder for if and when he decides to switch over and use it as a left-handed dangler. Now the value in that is more than just your own individual ability to carry a sheath right or left-handed. It also extends to the possibility that one day he's going to sell the knife and want to use the sheath to bolster the sale value of that knife. And if it happens to be a left-handed purchaser, buyer I should say, you can very quickly appeal to them by saying, hey, I've got a custom sheath for it, and it can be configured for all left-hand carry stuff as well. So that's one of the things I try to do all the time when possible. And you know, sometimes it's too complicated to get it to work, or the type of accessories or something like that might prevent it. But in this case, everything works out really nicely for an ambidextrous carry. All right, so we got that dangler, obviously, and then these two D-rings here are attach points for a 2-point rifle sling, and that creates what's called a baldric carry. You can carry baldric vertically, and if you're going to do that, you'd want a single point of attachment, or even two that are close together. So you could take the leather off and just use this D-ring here for a vertical baldric, or you could attach to the D-ring for the dangler as well as this one here, or you could do a traditional or what I'd call a modern baldric carry, horizontal baldric, which is where you would attach to either these two or the dangler ring and the ring at the tip. So you have a lot of different ways that you can configure this for Baldric. He already has a really nice sling from Beach and Tactical that he intends to use for these systems. So he's good to go there. Now, one of the things that makes this a really special system, and what I was referring to at the beginning, was the Tmms system. That is the contraption you're seeing sticking out here on the bottom of the BG3 sheath. And what it is, like I said, it's a receiver and a fork. And the fork is connected to the small knife, the receiver connected to the large one, so you can quickly dismount your small sheath. And then theoretically, you'd have your tech lock with the other receiver, and you'd be wearing this on your belt. So you could very quickly just move this over and throw your BG3 onto your belt. And there you go, you're locked in place. So it's very self-explanatory, very simple system, but it's super effective. It's very rugged, and it's very versatile and modular. So I'm a big fan of these. I also make a version of this myself, and it does a slightly different function. It's the same function, but there's only I call it the Tech Lock adapter, Universal Tech Lock Adapter, or UTA, and it just allows you to have the Tech Lock directly installed on the knife, and you plug the Tech Lock into the adapter. So slightly different setup, but the same application. Troy opted for the TMMS, which I am equally happy to do. So I really love the TMMS. I'm a huge fanboy here. So all right, there we go. That is that. Let's show the fit of these knives in their sheaths. Got a nice little click in. It's very secure in there. It's not going anywhere. And of course, ballistic one-handed draw. It's got a great draw, guys. I really love this sheath. It's really nice. Over here we have the smaller of the two bussies, and it's got a really great click in. No rattle, no play. Certainly not going to fall out on you. It's not a ballistic draw, but you do have a one-handed draw for sure. The gravity is going to take this right off as soon as you break that retention. All right, so that's that for the Piggyback. I think this came out really nice. I couldn't be happier with it, but I'd love your opinions down below in the comment section. Let me know what you think of this. All right, now, I saved this one for last because it's a very special sheath, and I do this more and more nowadays. I only did it, like, the first time I did it, I think people just didn't really take to it, but after a couple more people ordered, it's been one of my more frequent specialty options. This would be what I call my absolute top tier option at the moment. It is genuine alligator skin wrapped around your Kydex sheath. So it's bonded right to the Kydex. You can see this black material here is Kydex. For this one, we use the thickest Kydex available, which is 1/8 of an inch thick, or 0.125 inch. Likewise, this has a holder for the same ferro rod, and also plates that are floated on both sides for the compass. Yes, this one is also ambidextrous. It's also got mollies on the back and the 2 D-rings for Baldric, as well as the dangler. Now this dangler, instead of leather, I used alligator hide. And well, there's a little bit of leather actually. What I did, because the gator is, it's really rugged stuff. It's stronger than cowhide. However, it's really thin, and it just doesn't feel as comfortable. So what I did was cut a strip of cowhide, bonded the gator skin to that cowhide, and then cut it all down to size and made a dangler out of it. So that's what you're looking at here. This is all off of the same critter. This down here is part of the tail, and this is actually part of the back of the gator. The species we're looking at here, not to get too scientific because I don't know its real like genus and phylum and all that, but it's Hornback Alligator. This is American Hornback Alligator. It's very, very difficult to get a hold of, and nowadays anyway. It used to be easier. Just last year I was able to just pop on eBay and go to the same seller all the time and grab whatever I needed from him, but lately it's been much harder and much more expensive to get. So that's one thing you'll have to take into consideration, guys. It's never been inexpensive, and certainly not inexpensive to have me bond it to Kydex, but right now it's at its peak, like everything else with Biden inflation. Just miserably expensive everything is, but that's what we got to deal with right now. So in any case, it is what I would call my top tier option. The reason why I love this the most of anything I do is because Not only does it just give you that kind of really cool aesthetic, I mean, alligator skin, in my opinion, just looks absolutely beautiful. But you also get kind of the warmth and softness of leather at the same time. But you don't have the same compromise with leather that you would normally, where leather can be scuffed and scratched so easily. Cowhide being a little bit vulnerable, alligator skin is just super rugged stuff. So it doesn't tend to scratch. It doesn't tend to scuff. It's more waterproof than cowhide, and I do treat this with waterproofing, and it darkens up a little bit. In fact, you can kind of see it's lighter up on top and gets a little darker toward the edges. The softer stuff takes the waterproofing more than the harder material up here, like where these spines are. So it's darker down below, and you get this beautiful fade effect just by buffing it with some waterproofing compound. In this case, mink paste oil is what I prefer to use. So yeah, I just love alligator hide. It's rugged, but it's also kind of soft and warm. So it's like the best of all worlds, in my opinion, not to mention how it looks. So yeah, let me know what you guys think down below. Do you guys like the alligator hide? Do you not like it? They do make some, alligators make, there are skins available that are just like the belly skin. So you get kind of these wider, flatter plates, but they're super shiny. I prefer this personally. It's a little bit more of a matte finish, which I prefer. And of course you get the bigger texture with these spines. Now these things they're sharp, they're hard. These are almost bone hard, really. So yeah, it's super rugged stuff. All right, really quick, the fit of the bronze Busse here. Got a nice click in, very strong, no rattle, no play, and easy one-handed draw. So this thing came out great. Couldn't be happier with it. One difference between the two is, as you're noticing, they both have Fire Rod XLs. They both have Cento Clippers. They both have dangler, baldric points, and mollies. The only real difference between the two setups, other than not having a piggyback here and having gator, is that the fire rod holder, I opted to go this one to go with a setup on the face. Now it can be moved down to go below, and it is ambidextrous, but to do that, what I ended up doing was milling a couple of slots in it this direction. So you can adjust the angle quite significantly, and you can also move this and flip it down so it's under the sheath, and it can go at this angle on either side of the sheath, as well as some other positions. Universal spacings all around, so you can find a bunch of different ways to carry both of these. All right, guys, that is all I have for you. I will shut up now and get out of your hair, but I really appreciate you viewing. I appreciate you dropping in and giving some support to the channel. So like this video if you like these sheaths, like the channel, and subscribe to it, of course. I'd love your comments down below, your thoughts on all of the gear that you're looking at here. I wish I had a Fire Rod XL on me so you can see it more in context, but know that that's an excellent fire starting option from Exotac, which is my go-to company for all of my ferro rod needs. And yeah, that's about all I got for you guys. All right, like, share, comment, subscribe, share this with all your buddies, and of course, tune in for the next one. Thanks for sticking around, guys. God bless.